Holidays, a nice day out. Most of us take photographs to help us remember and commemorate our own personal histories. But could these private, intimate moments have a far wider significance? It's photos like these that an archive called Autograph ABP have set their sights on. They believe that there's a chapter missing from the story of multicultural Britain in our official photography archives, and for them, it's ordinary family snaps that are the key to filling that gap.
I brought some photographs of my family.
Oh, well, I got when I get married.
Weddings.
Places we have been.
Work parties.
It's a documentation, if you like, that I was here. We were here.
Today, Autograph are holding the first in a series of events across the country set up to scan in people's photos and add them to their collection. I wanted to find out why they think there's something so extraordinary about the ordinary.
I think the crucial idea is to recognise that these snaps are an important part of what we need to think about when we think about ideas or images of black people. Most of the key moments around black experiences in the UK have been produced by professional photographers.
So in a way, the person holding the camera behind the lens is shaping what they're seeing in front of the lens.
Well, let's look at it from two sides. You could take Bert Hardy Goes to Tiger Bay, a wonderful series of photographs in many senses. You could argue that they're quite melancholic. Then if you take people, some of the more celebrated black photographers here in the UK, you could say Horace Ove and characters like that. There is a sense that their work is documenting a political presence. And that's really important, but it's not the whole story. The missing part, the bit in the middle, I think is the part where people take control of the camera and they actually begin to, produce these wonderful family images.
Oh, this one is the closest to the 1960 when I came. As you can see, something is missing there, can't you?
The moustache.
Yeah. But those were the hard times, almost like the pioneering times compared to what times are like now.
They might not necessarily add up to great moments in black history, if you like, but collectively, when you start bringing these things together, you get a totally different view of what's important to these people.
This one is when I got married in London.
Yeah.
In Wandsworth. Yeah, in Wandsworth.
We know that the story of Britain really is a multicultural story. We know that people have crossed over and married outside of their kind of racial confines. And I think that expanded sense of what constitutes Britain will hopefully be revealed in these photographs.
And that's your mum and dad there. It's quite funny, I think, when they went to a registry office, the registrar took my dad aside and explained to him that in England you're only allowed to have one wife. So he was just checking that he hadn't got another wife abroad.
What I think is so interesting about this project is its potential to tell a secret history of Britain, not one dominated by landmark events like Windrush or news stories about riots, but a more rounded one by the people who were there.
We have planted a lot of seeds in this country, and it's grown.
This is where the story started.
And that's where the story started.
Yeah. So what do you think when you look at these photographs?
Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I cry. Especially now that he passed away, I cry sometimes. But I love them to bits.
Your parents, in a way, were pioneers as well, weren't they? Because they were mixed race. I mean, at that time, I guess that must have been quite a...
It was quite difficult. At one point, it was so bad that they were actually thinking of moving to India. And it was only a few months before that Dad was offered a job out of London. Otherwise, I would be a Delhi princess.
I think we're in Canvey Island or Margate here.
Is that...
Oh, that's lovely.
So that's at home, that's me playing the old guitar.
Doing your...
My Joni Mitchell,
yeah.
or whatever it was before that, yeah.
I
guess being able to sort of have other people seeing this and then sharing your experiences and your memories, that must be quite a powerful thing.
It is, because, you know, like I said, they are a recording of each moment in time that you existed. That sort of memory could only be brought back by having evidence of it.
As a professional photographer yourself, when you look at these photographs, do you think that they offer a kind of, do they add something to what we already know about the archive of British history of the last 30, 40 years?
When I look at other people's photo albums of that time, they certainly add something to the story that I've kind of lived through myself and I know from other people, but you just don't get to see those images of people being perfectly ordinary. You know, suddenly the ordinary becomes very extraordinary. People washing their car or playing in the park with a cat. I mean, it's like, wow.
I've brought along some of my own photos to share. This is a photograph that was taken, I think, in the late 60s, early 70s. And, you know, at the time, there was a lot of people from, you know, the Asian subcontinent, Pakistani guys who all lived in these houses together. Right. And, you know, their wives were far away, and they'd have to cook. And when I was growing up, my dad never cooked. I just like the idea of, you know, my dad wearing an apron.
And cooking a stew.
And cooking. I mean, I think what's nice about this literally is everyday life,
Absolutely.
Isn't it? There isn't any big occasion.
Exactly, but that's the beauty of it, and that's what's so wonderful about these family photographs, that they shed light on these everyday moments, in a sense, and that's part of the story that is not usually seen.
I've been really touched by the images I've seen today and how they provide a counter-narrative to history's big events, adding colour to a story that far too often has been seen as black and white.